he's just a wonderful human being. I mean, I think it's horrible what the Democrats have done. It's a con game they're playing. They're really con artists. They're trying to convince. You know, they don't believe it themselves. Okay, they know he's a high quality person. They don't believe it. It's just resist and obstruct. They're playing a con game, and they play it very well. They play it actually much better than the Republicans.
That was the president earlier today talking about the Democrats' delay tactics on the Kavanaugh nomination. It's this simple. It's a battle between those who value the core principles of this country and those who only value cheap political victories. Now, from day one, Republicans have treated the confirmation process of Judge Kavanaugh with the seriousness it deserves. Democrats, they have not. They created chaos at Judge Kavanaugh's hearings, interrupting, as you saw, dozens of times. There were constant outbursts from left-wing protesters, disrupting the proceedings, and much more. Now, just days away from a formal vote, after all of the hearings were over, and Senator Dianne Feinstein, she drops a bombshell, an allegation from a woman accusing Judge Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct going back 36 years when they were both in high school. Now, Feinstein knew about these allegations since July. She kept them secret. Now, she kept them secret when she met privately with Judge Kavanaugh. She kept them secret when she questioned Kavanaugh publicly. And Feinstein used an allegation, a serious allegation, of sexual misconduct as a political ploy to delay and disrupt Kavanaugh's confirmation. Now, despite all of this, to their credit, Republicans have rightly taken these accusations against Judge Kavanaugh seriously, as they should. A public hearing featuring both Kavanaugh and his accuser, Professor Christine Ford, has been set for Thursday. Tonight, there is still a chance we now have news Ford may not appear. Senator Dianne Feinstein said she cannot guarantee that she will show up. Now, apparently, Ford has concerns about the independent female attorney hired to question both Ford and Kavanaugh. Republicans clearly are trying to do everything in their power, as they have been doing, to accommodate Professor Ford. In an op-ed on FoxNews.com, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich wrote, quote, "If not Judge Kavanaugh, then who?" This is the question Republicans need to ask themselves as they prepare for Thursday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Joining us now is Newt Gingrich. Don't forget, by the way, his new book, Trump's America. It's available now, part 2 of which talks about all the challenges the president will face. Mr. Speaker, you look at the fact Dianne Feinstein literally had this in July. She didn't bring it up till now. Then the people that Professor Ford mentioned, all of them deny it. And then you got the New Yorker article where Ms. Ramirez admits she was inebriated very early, slurring her words, gaps in her memory, etc. And then you have the new face of the Democratic Party says, oh, I'm going to reveal gang rape in the next 48 hours. I don't know what are the American people to think, and so many Democrats rushing to judgment, no presumption of innocence.
Look, I think what the American people should think is that you have a Democratic Party so desperate to stop the Supreme Court from becoming conservative that they are prepared to lie, to smear, to be hysterical, to break Senate rules, to do whatever they have to do. What you're watching is a party totally desperate, and you've got to put this week in context. I was struck earlier today that Arthur Miller's great play, The Crucible, which is about the Salem witchcraft trials, actually relates to what's happening to Judge Kavanaugh. What he's being put through is almost like a medieval torture. Somebody shows up 35 years later. Everybody in the audience ought to think about this. Close your eyes for a second and ask, what were you doing on June 12th, 35 years ago? The truth is, you almost certainly don't know. And the fact is, this hearing is a farce. There's nothing that Kavanaugh can say which will convince Chuck Schumer to vote for him. And I think that Dr. Ford has no evidence other than her own word, which is going to count. They can't provide any witnesses. She can't even tell us, to the best of my knowledge, what was the date, where was the house, who all were there. The people she names all say they weren't there. Now, at what point is the burden of common sense on the accuser? And if it's a burden of common sense, this hearing wouldn't even be held. It's only in the current hyper environment in which Senator Naranjo can say men ought to just shut up. I mean, think about the level of venom in that sentence. You have an entire effort by the totalitarian left to bludgeon us. You saw it last night, as you reported, with Senator Cruz and his wife. I mean, what has happened to America when random left-wing totalitarians think they can violate private property, trespass in a restaurant, go in and intimidate a citizen who's simply trying to have dinner, and they think they're heroes? And apparently the police aren't called. Nobody's arrested for trespass. Nobody's arrested for intimidation. We're watching a period where what we ought to understand is this is about raw power. And if the left can stop Kavanaugh, we will not get another conservative justice in our lifetime on the Supreme Court.
You talk about his 4 decades as an exemplary husband, father, friend, judge. There's been over 220 people that have come out and said, this guy is a cut above, a gentleman's gentleman. And then I'm listening to these lawmakers, many of them, when they say, I believe in the case of Professor Ford, or I believe Ms. Ramirez, what they're really saying is they don't want to hear anything. They don't believe in due process. They don't believe in the presumption of innocence. And I got to be honest, how does a lawmaker say he has to prove his innocence? We've had lawmakers say that. Senator Coons said he has to prove his innocence from 40 years ago, 36 years ago.
Look, there's a whole block of left-wing Democrats, whether it's Coons or it's Schumer or it's a variety of other people on the left. They're hopeless. They have no interest in the truth. They're involved in a struggle over power. They've got to pay off their activist base. There's no possibility that they're going to vote for Judge Kavanaugh. But what I'm fascinated with is, let's say you're the senator from West Virginia or Missouri or Indiana or North Dakota or Montana. Now you're from an area where there are a lot of common sense, everyday folks who like Donald Trump, who believe Donald Trump's doing the right thing, who want to have a more conservative court. Let's say you're the junior senator from Alabama. Do you really want to line up with Chuck Schumer and the left, with Booker and his pathetic portrait of Spartacus, which as a historian I found particularly offensive? He clearly had no idea who Spartacus was. I think these senators who are from states where there's a lot of common sense, a lot of conservatism, a desire for more conservative judges, we have not heard a single one of them yet, and I will be very surprised if we don't have a number of them vote yes. Remember when the Clarence Thomas character assassination was underway, 11 Democrats ended up voting yes for Clarence Thomas. And I think we may find all of a sudden, once you're through Thursday, that several of these Democrats from Trump states decide in the end, she didn't prove her case. I'm going to vote yes. He deserves to be on the court.
He also has a 40-year track record. I think your observation is right. 42 days in the election. I can tell you that people that I hear from 3 hours a day on radio and that watch this show, they are angry because instinctively Americans believe in due process. They believe in fundamental fairness. They don't believe in a rush to judgment. We have seen in high-profile cases, Duke LaCrosse, Ferguson, Missouri, Baltimore, Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Cambridge Police. We've seen a lot of rushing to judgment where a lot of the same people have been wrong again and again. But as far as the Republicans go, it seems like it's coming down to 4 people for them. And they have control of this. That would be Bob Corker. That would be Jeff Flake. I think Susan Collins probably had the best comment of anybody, saying what Dianne Feinstein did is unfair to everybody in this case. And Lisa Murkowski. I don't know what to expect from any of them tonight.
Thursday's important only in the sense that unless Dr. Ford is overwhelmingly convincing, and unless Judge Kavanaugh is overwhelmingly disappointing, I suspect all four of the Republicans will end up deciding that there is no case adequate to say no. At the same time, I believe, as I just said, that there are 5 or 6 Democrats who are on the bubble who have to go home and explain why they voted with Schumer and why they voted with Warren and why they voted with Booker. And I think that this could be a very expensive vote in terms of defeating 5 or 6 or 7 Democrats, because I think their states are going to say to them, you know, there's no proof here that justifies voting no on Judge Kavanaugh.
All right, Mr. Speaker, we appreciate your time. Sorry you couldn't make it here. You're in D.C., but you wouldn't even come see us. And we're outside, and the Capitol's behind us. It's beautiful. That's where you had the best office.
All I can tell you is, no, all I can tell you is Callista had a better offer.
Wow. All right. I don't blame her. I don't blame you. Good choice. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Penny Young Nance is president and CEO of Concerned Women for America. She has wrote a piece arguing that Christine Ford's account of an assault by Brett Kavanaugh is missing essential details. The rest of us need to assess it. Penny Young Nance joins us tonight. Penny, thanks a lot for coming on.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
So I think most people watching this came into it with a pretty open mind. I know feminists are always saying no one believes the woman, but most people I know want to believe.
That's right.
But it's hard because there are missing details. What should we know that we don't in order to assess them?
Well, first let me tell you, I'm coming at this as a woman who has been a victim of an attempted rape and a physical assault when I was pregnant with my first child in a running path in Virginia. I have written a whole chapter in my book about that issue. I've testified before Congress advocating for women and victims of sexual violence, advocating for the Debbie Smith Act, and written numerous, op-eds about this. This is an important issue to my heart, but I care about justice, and that's the missing piece here. We do believe that a person is innocent until proven guilty in this case, and we've got Judge Kavanaugh in an impossible position. People have noted this. I would like to believe that women are always morally superior to men as the head of Concerned Women for America.
Right.
But the Duke Lacrosse case and Lena Dunham's book, and even going back to classic literature to To Kill a Mockingbird, we know that's not always true because we are broken people. The best that we can do is try to get to the truth.
Well, and you're saying that not every woman always tells the truth in every instance?
Sadly, that is the case. Of course it is. And we know that you don't immediately become more moral because you're a woman. That's why justice must be blind.
Right.
Justice has to be blind to everything: gender, race, socioeconomics, age. And we're counting on that. And if we get away from that notion, it is dangerous for our nation. It's dangerous for everyone in our country.
If the presumption is that people are judged on the basis of their sex or race,
right,
or their immutable characteristics, that's not a component, you say.
That's right. It absolutely is not. Now, listen, I believe women, and I think we have a right to use our voice and to speak up. And as a victim, we have to have the opportunity to come forward and share our perspective. But we also need to understand that we deserve to give justice to everyone in this nation. And Concerned Women for America is there for Judge Kavanaugh. We still support him. If something changes, if we actually is proven that he's a sexual predator,
right,
or anyone sitting on the Supreme Court today, we would be the first people calling for impeachment. Sure. We would be leading the charge, but that's not where we are. And so we strongly are still in support of him. In fact, we're doing a Women for Kavanaugh rally Thursday morning behind the Senate Russell Building, 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Any of your viewers that want to come would be welcome. This is an important moment for conservative women to speak up on this issue.
Penny Nance, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.